My name is Dr. Whitney Howard. Thank you guys for staying. To all of my students that are here, thanks for staying. Here we're going to have a panel that talks about integrating sports media, athletic representation, and strategic communication opportunities across journalism, advertising, PR, and radio, TV, film. So I just want to say thank you all to my guests whenever they're here. I would like for them to sit on the front row. If we switch out so that my three remaining men can sit here. We have Nate Griffin, Mr. Ralph Cooper. We need them on the front because we're going to do a transition for them on stage, please, so we can make this an easy transition. Thanks to my guests. Let me introduce my guests to you guys once we get situated. Thank you, Miss Miller. All right. All right. So let me introduce my guests to you guys so that you can get familiar. Some of you know, and some of you I'm going to newly introduce. On stage, we have Mr. Dave Atkins, former 49ers, San Francisco 49ers. Okay. We have Mr. George Foreman the fourth. And we have the infamous one and only, Mr. Michael Holmes, San Francisco 49ers, who is also an alum of Texas Southern. Most of you guys, are you all alums of Texas Southern? Okay. Well, we ain't gonna talk about your college. No, I'm just joking. And we also have down on the floor, we have Nate from Fox 26 Sports. We have Mr. Ralph Cooper from KCOH and our very own KTSU Sports Talk, Devin Wade. All right, so we're going to get right into it. I know time is of the essence. So just an icebreaker. In one sentence, how would you describe the role of communication in your career? And this question is open. It's for anyone. I'm sorry you guys have to be not on stage, but we're going to switch you all.
I'll let age before beauty today.
So the question is, in one sentence, how would you describe the role of communication in your career? It don't have to be one sentence, just describe it.
Well, the most important thing is making a transition with another person and being a gentleman about it.
Okay. Everyone can answer that. Who's up there?
I'll go next. If I could keep it to one sentence, it's tough.
No, you can. It doesn't have to be one sentence.
I'll make it a quick lesson. This is every communication exchange I've ever had, from probably the beginning of my life even to now. It was a quote I was given. My dad was at an event, and he was giving a Horatio Alger Award. I've got to look up the value of the award, give you some backstory. But he learned from a lady named, the name will come to me, but the quote was, "Learn to sell and you'll never starve." And I think about that on the football field. One of my best gifts, Ralph Cooper knew I was a running back, and I could sell a play action. And that's how we made it to the playoffs, off just my play action bluff. But learn to sell. And you can take that into anything, a kid trying to get into school, an adult trying to pass a class. When you know you missed a lot because of work, learn to sell and you'll never starve. Yeah.
Okay.
With me, it started off at an early age. I had a young man that I still look up to him. His name is Mr. Clifford Paul. And he was a person that when you come in contact with anybody, he was able to communicate with that person. I've learned that from him. From day one, my job is to communicate with everybody at all times. Even a snake, I'll communicate with a snake as long as he don't bite me.
All right. So I'm going to attempt to bring another mic down so in case you guys want to answer on the floor, because I don't want you all to yell out, and I do want you to hold that in the back of your mind if you want to go ahead and answer that. So to begin, this panel brings together professionals from journalism, radio, entrepreneurship, and former athletes, each representing a unique lane within the communication field. For your specific role, whether in broadcasting, sports talk, entrepreneurship, or athletics, how does communication shape your daily work in the sports industry?
With me, I can say, with me communicating with the people on a daily basis, I make sure I communicate with people at all times. Even if they don't want to talk with me, I'll find a way to catch their attention. That word communication means a lot. It's just like being a car salesman. In order for me to sell a car, I got to talk to everybody. And I don't hold back. I can see Mr. Gifford in front of me, see Mr. Ralph in front of me. They know I can talk for the right reason. They call it a paycheck.
Okay. You guys can answer if you like. Would one of you all like to answer that question as well?
I think communication is a success, or leads to success in any business in which you work. You have to be able to communicate with the people around you, just like you have to be able to communicate with your teammates, other student athletes, anyone in your life. You can communicate, that will lead to success, some success.
Absolutely.
I communicate all the time. This is not a job to me. This is a passion with me. It comes from the heart, and it's always been that way. When I was hustling stories, the time didn't matter, 2 or 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. Still have those kind of habits, thanks to this little device here. This little device here really opens up a lot of things. It was a Texas Southern student that I had as an intern. You all gave me Isaiah Thornton for 400 hours. And most people thought Isaiah Thornton was the student. But after I found out what he knew about this and how to operate it, I became the student. And just to give you an example, that internship thing is very important in regards to communications. He landed at the right time. He ended up being my intern when the Astros won the World Series. He ended up with a ring, and he ended up with some money, a big paycheck, which he, being thrifty from Texas Southern like Mike Holmes, he still has some of his checks. So I just wanted to throw it in. But the main thing is to have fun while you do this. If I can't wake up and have some fun and be inspired by younger people and older people. I have a 23-year-old about to come out of NYU with a degree already from Howard. George, the foreman's helped me with my daughter. So that means a lot to me. Thank you.
Yeah, when you talk about communication in sports, obviously that's the most important thing. If you a defender, your linebackers, your safeties, you get everybody aligned, and all the best defenses communicate well. And as it pertains to the ability to communicate in general, at least for the three of us, we've been able to be impactful enough to get compensated for it. And not only that, have an impact on influencing the culture, the community, illuminating stories in our communities, and telling stories that need to be told. One of the things, and we talk about African-American media, we have to tell our own stories because otherwise they don't get told. I look at Nate and some of the things that he does and some of the doors that he opens and exposes the general public to stories that other people aren't talking about. Ralph Cooper has done more to hand his microphone to other people than anybody, probably anywhere ever. And that's his biggest gift. And his legacy will live many, many, many decades after he's gone because he has created so many opportunities. He's touched everybody. So I think, I always want to celebrate him because people don't know what he had to go through in press boxes when he was the only person of color. The insults, the microaggressions, things that he kept coming back, right? He kept coming back, and he's still coming back to this day. So, I think he is the guy. So I want to always give him his flowers. So I know that was way off point, but again, I didn't want to do anything before I said, paid my respects to him because of what he did for other people. So, that's was important to share.
And I thank you for the kind words and everything, but as I look at Mike Holmes, I think about the first rounder I ever interviewed. He was not in New York City. He was not at the Hyatt Regency here in Houston or the Astro Village Hotel or at a Holiday Inn. He was on the parking lot. Now, this was a first-round draft pick, San Francisco 49ers, out of Texas Southern. And since he didn't have lobsters, T-bones, bottles of wine, he was just out there by himself, and I caught up with him on the parking lot of the Marriott Hotel on Braeswood at that time. And he may not know how important that was, but it was. That's what I just wanted to add that. Okay?
Y'all can clap. Y'all can clap. So this highlights that communication is not just one-dimensional. It operates across multiple platforms and professionals, all contributing how sports are experienced and understood. Which leads me to my next question. So we talk about sports is more than scores and highlights. It's about storytelling, emotion, and connection with audiences. How do you approach storytelling in your field to create engaging and impactful narratives that resonates with your audience?
Well, I'll answer that because I'm good at that part there. Say throughout my career, I learned how to communicate with people, and the biggest thing I learned, how to tell lies. I'm very good at it, and I go all over the country telling them same lies that I supposedly had done on the football field. And Ralph could verify it. In fact, I got my agent here. She's here. She's sitting back there in the back. Raise your hand, my agent. That's the other Clifford Paul in my life. So I tell lies everywhere I go. In fact, the biggest lie I tell was on the golf course. You can find me on the golf course now, telling lies.
I,
Here we take the question.
yes.
So from your specific role, how do you approach storytelling in your field to create engaging and impactful narratives that resonate with your audience?
Well, in sports, football for sure, is something that you need the fans to be on your side. You have to know how to get out and play and execute and make that one play. That's second or third, fourth play. Take the ball from the 20 all the way to the goal line. Those type things are really important in football.
You know, I think about the art of storytelling. It's such a gift. Whether it's fish tales or the storylines, it's such a great gift, and it requires patience. Sometimes you even see little kids, a gift. You see a little kid who just has let me tell you what happened today, and suddenly you see 4 or 5 adults looking at this little kid like, where'd they learn how to tell that story? I think that would be the craft I had to learn how to do, really tell my own story. I have the same name as my brothers and the same name as my dad, so it's really important that I don't always tell their story. You know, you come in with a 49ers hat, but you got to tell your story through the 49ers hat, I imagine. So I think I would say just learn the art of becoming a great storyteller. And I think with that, you'll learn how to really read your audience, see what they're passionate about. I grew up in church, so I had to read stories from the Bible. And you really learn quickly how and why punctuation is written a certain way, emphasis on certain details. So that was the art that I was given, a task I was given to me by my father. Learn how to tell stories, learn how to read the Bible out loud, learn the art of communication to the masses, and the cadence of that. That was a skill set I had to learn.
Mike, I got to be careful about telling lies when I do sports in the morning on Fox 26, bro.
I understand.
Yeah. But on the golf course, I'm with you 100%. Now, the one thing that we try to do when we do television, we stay local. And for those of you who are looking to do radio, TV, you want to tell the stories that people can relate to. That's the most important thing. If you talk about other teams in other cities, that's cool. If you want to talk about other people, other athletes, other people you know about in other cities, that's fine. But the stories that resonate with the people where you live are those about where you live. So that's what we do at Fox 26. We're a local station, although it's like 8 million people in our area, but we try to reach all 8 million. And by telling the stories of those people who live in the areas in and around Houston, there's no way you can lose an audience. If you lose an audience, that's on you, because you probably didn't dig deep enough to get the story. So, I mean, I've had Devin on the air with me. I've done Mike. I've had all these guys except you, Mr. Atkins. We're going to get around to that. You and I got some conversations to have, but very quickly. The one thing that we try to do is dig deep. All these guys, we try to dig deep. We're trying to dig a little deeper with Ralph because we want to tell his story, but I can't get him to agree to the contract. So we got to figure out a way to get some more money on that contract. And I'll tell you somebody else who writes a really good story. There's a couple of guys in here. Terry Harris, and where's Kyle Mosley? Kyle Mosley. Those guys dig deep. They write stories that resonate with people. Terry did one recently that I actually had to use the pictures, and I think you did too, that he took. And that was a wonderful shot that you had, which allowed me to tell my story about the volleyball coach at Prairie View A&M University. Yep, I'm a graduate of TSU, but we have to spread the love around, because if we don't have an audience. All audiences will not watch all TSU. All audiences will not watch all Prairie View. All audiences will not watch U of H, HCU. What school am I missing? Rice. Thank you very much. How could I miss Rice? But anyway, how could I miss Rice? But the most, yeah, Mr. U of H cornerback. But the most important thing is to tell the stories of all. And if you can tell the most important stories of all, hit the pros, like the ones from here, hit the local guys, like these guys I've been working with for years. You can't miss. You won't miss. So that's how we tell the story at Fox 26.
Okay. When it comes to telling stories, I'm gonna just share this one. This is a big day for me. April 9th, you heard this earlier on my program. April 9th, 1965, 4 or 5 of us left school early at Worthing to go to the Astrodome. Couldn't buy a ticket. We got hired as vendors. And for the first time and the only time in my life, I became, to get inside, a hot dog seller, a hot dog vendor. Made about $30, which was a lot of money then. And I was 15. Got in, and what happened, after about 2 innings, a couple hours working before the game with that $30, stuffed some hot dogs in my pocket, and went and found me an empty seat, and my career as a hot dog vendor was over. So I just wanted to add that. These are some of the stories, but then I want to add one with George Foreman. George Foreman, in 1977, Jimmy Young in Puerto Rico. So I leave out of here from Kansas City with Texas Southern's basketball team. I go to Puerto Rico, I see George. This is how people change. Before the day or two before the fight, I'm gonna break his neck. He was talking about Jimmy Young, his opponent. This is the transformation. These are the things, the experiences that you get that people don't get normally get. I'm gonna break his neck when I get him in the ring. You see him, tell him I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna break his neck. The fight is over. Jimmy Young goes to 12 rounds, gets the decision, and now George Foreman becomes a minister. He has an experience in his locker room, and another piece of communications that I never thought I would see that George Foreman become the other George Foreman the preacher.
Yeah, we talk about the storytelling. There's stories that everybody knows. Like with the internet now, everybody knows everything at the same time. The key to it is to have, for me as a talk show host, a unique perspective. What is my take on this? Or how can I reposition this to look at it slightly different, where people say, oh, okay, I didn't think about it like this, or have a definitive opinion about it one way or the other. Like, yeah, what are you talking about? I don't agree. Or, oh, okay, I really agree with that perspective. You have to critically think about these things when everybody knows everything. Like you say, we all know the score to the game. We all saw and watched every play. But what did I see that nobody else saw? Or what am I going to talk about that nobody else is going to talk about? And then, again, going back to these guys and how they approach. And I learned this from both of these guys. You go places that, like even in the locker room, we know this, like in the post game, you'll have 15 reporters surrounding one guy. You see Ralph and maybe now me and Nate go off to the one guy in the corner, and you can gain more information by being one-on-one with that one guy that 25 other reporters are ignoring. So you have to understand, okay, what can I add to the conversation? I can't get on the air every Saturday and say the same things that Stephen A. Smith says 5 days a week to millions of people. My take is my take. And I think, you have to learn to find your story that you want to tell, and I think that's the important component of storytelling.
Story right quick. I get a call. We're in Las Vegas for a big fight. This guy's daddy calls. Watch out for my son. Why? Well, that's a local story.
That's a rule. You don't tell Vegas stories.
You can't tell that story.
So I'm so honored to have these guys on my panel. Unbeknownst to me, I did not know that there was going to be a connection. I got these guys in here because of what their industry professional skills were. And here it is. I'm sitting here listening at how he knows his, which, I would know, I would think that he would know something of a, because of what we know about history. But it's so amazing that these stories are connecting. And I think that's an honor. So, effective storytelling transforms sports into powerful cultural moments, reinforcing the importance of narrative in communication careers. With the rise of social media, podcasts, streaming platforms, and digital journalism, the sports media landscape continues to evolve rapidly. How has digital media changed the way you engage with audiences? We're old school, so we're used to radios, right? With audience, and what opportunities does it create, does it create for the next generation of communicators?
Well, I'm going to think about the man right here is the first person I want to hear from, because the daily news has to be the pinnacle of communication, how people are consuming, how editors are editing, how the commercials are going to be packaged to fit in between my time slots. These things are cutting edge and changing every day. So the first thing I want to hear how the news does it, because that sets the standard for how we do it in the classroom.
So news operates completely differently from sports, right? News, they put everything on the web, everything. Sports, they want specific stories, but they also want pieces from those stories. They want the soundbite that's going to wow you. That's what they want, and they put that on the web. If I call digital and I ask them, hey, I need you to post a couple of stories for me, they'll do it. They will leave. Perfect example. Interview Mike Singletary. I know it's Worthing, okay, but that's right up his alley, okay? Interviewed Mike Singletary, Hall of Fame linebacker Mike Singletary, roughly 7 or 8 months ago, right? Went viral. The reason it went viral was because one of the digital people at Fox 26 decided to go with the line, yeah, I knocked out a whole lot of people. And so that caught the attention of everybody who knew or had heard of the legendary Mike Singletary. You guys know who everybody in here who knows who Mike Singletary is, raise your hand. Okay, so Mike Singletary is legendary linebacker, Chicago Bears, but do you know where he went to high school? Worthing, another local story, right? Played his college football at Baylor. another local story. So because he's from this area, because he attended Worthing, some people may not have known that, but I guarantee you at least 60 to 70% of the people who connected with that story did know that he played at Worthing High School and Baylor and the Chicago Bears, won a Super Bowl in 1985, right, with the Chicago Bears. So they connected with that story, and that's why it went viral.
When you talk about like social media, podcasting, all of those things, they open up opportunities, especially like for people who don't have a platform that they can have access to. Before it was gatekeepers. Somebody had to give you permission to do a story or talk about something. And now you have it on your phone. You can create your own space, and we see people leverage that into bigger opportunities. But it really is, you have to really work hard with, millions, literally millions of podcasts. You have to really work hard to have a unique voice in that space. And, you also have to learn how to communicate in different spaces. I do a long-form, hour-long sports talk show. Ralph does long-form talk show. So he has time to talk about nuance and details. Well, I do Nate's show, and it took me a minute. We got 3 minutes, and we got 5 subjects. You got to come with it.
Let me add to that, Devin.
Yeah.
Okay, real quick. So we get 3 minutes in the morning. You know what they get at night? 2.5. I get 3 minutes 5 times every day. You witnessed that this morning. I get 3 minutes 5 times a day. So I have to fill all that time with stories, right? But to your point, 3 minutes, it's quick. We got to get it in there, but yeah.
So I say that to say that even veterans, have found ways to leverage themselves, because you for so many years you work for these companies, and then what happens when you're out of fashion or you lose that opportunity? Well, now you can take your audience with you if you move in those spaces. So I think it's very important, and especially if you're gonna do a podcast, really think about, don't just open up the microphone and just start talking. Go into it with some thought, with some planning. How am I gonna be different? Why are people going to wanna listen to me? Your buddies will wanna listen to you, but what about strangers that have never come into contact? And so that way you can always take your brand with you and create other opportunities, even not having to depend on corporations or institutions to give you those opportunities. So I do think it's a really, really great path forward if you can execute and find your voice in a unique way.
What do y'all got? Well, what I was going to do, I'm a person who started in a black newspaper. And one of the greatest blessings I had was when they wouldn't let me do sports. They sent me to the courts and to the jails to do stories, which meant you had to have some other kind of nerve to be locked up and you interviewing people who allegedly had raped or murdered people or whatever. But the other part of that is, like now, the social media thing to me is the greatest blessing for a reader. I'm a reader. So I have another advantage over most people. Many people don't like to read. They look at this like a job. I look at it as something fun. So I wake up, I may read Terrence Harris at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I may read Mosley, same time in the morning. Get up and read and see what they're doing. In fact, at one time, my wife thought I was on the cell with some other woman. Till she saw what I was reading. So what I'm saying, I can't imagine having this device and the ways of communications now, when Muhammad Ali was around, George and Jim Brown and all those kind of guys, Clifford Paul especially. Clifford Paul coached here at TSU. He could sell you an automobile with no transmission or motor. And if you tell me if I'm lying about that, and you gladly buy.
Tell the truth.
Yeah. See, so you've got so many. There's so many great stories here, and see the people here at Texas Southern. My thing is for them to get to know the athletes. I met George Foreman, Jim Brown, and all those guys when we were all young. So you imagine you're young and you get to know them when they didn't have nothing. Or you meet Mike Holmes, and it's the day he's drafted, he really doesn't have nothing. 2 or 3 years down the road, he may be able to buy you a steak without you even asking him to do anything for you. That's the kind of guys they had here at Texas Southern. You had the Andy Rices, who played in the first Super Bowl game as a rookie. You had Kenny Burrough. You had Winston Hill out of Texas Southern, who's in the Hall of Fame out of Texas Southern. Everybody talks about Michael Strahan, but Winston Hill played in 1969 when the New York Jets won a Super Bowl. You had Jim Hines, who held the record in the 100 meters for, 3, 4, 5 decades, right out of Texas Southern University. You have all these great stories right out of here at Texas Southern, and Mike is one of them. He's not telling lies all the time. He was broke many times. If he tells you he was broke, but he knows how to ask for money now.
And I'm good at it. Hey, let me give you a story on myself that I thought was very important coming out of high school. I happened to be one of the top defensive back, wide receiver coming out of the state of Texas. Didn't know where I was going. Had all these schools give me the opportunity to attend. I settled for Texas Southern University. I settled for Texas Southern University because the young man, Clifford Paul, said one thing to me. Do you want to play professional football? To play professional football, you have to attend Texas Southern University. That's what got me started. From there, it goes back to me coming to Texas Southern University. What took place? Mr. Paul drove all the way to the big city. Anybody here know what a big city is? The big city is Galveston, Texas. That's the big city. He drove down to Galveston, Texas to National Signing Day. And Paul did something that I'm still trying to figure out. We talked about it today. Clifford Paul walked into my mama's room. He had a briefcase in his hand when he walked in. When he walked out, he didn't have a briefcase. My mom said, he left a briefcase. I said, Mom, don't worry about that briefcase. No, we got to give it back to him. I said, Mom, if he don't come back through that door, don't worry about the briefcase. Anybody know what was in that briefcase?
No, we don't. Tell us. We want to know.
Inquiring minds want to know.
I'm looking at his management.
It's when what we have right now, the UIL or NIL. We did it a long time ago. People just didn't know about it. But it was great to make that happen because look at me today. The history of Texas Southern University is in the house today. That's me, Mike Holmes. The last #1 draft choice from Texas Southern University. He's here, back at home.
What was it?
And my pet peeve is, if I can help a kid out, that's why the good Lord has blessed me to stay on this earth. Okay. As of today, through my foundation, which is the Galveston Professional Athletes, we give away 4 scholarships to 4 kids in Galveston County. It's me giving back to Galveston County. 3 of the kids that received those scholarships are right here at Texas Southern University. That's why I feel so good. We're getting ready to do the same thing here in Houston. I am the president of the NFL, Houston Alumni. We're getting ready to create that here in Houston, Texas, because the kids need our help. I'm gonna make it happen. That's why I'm out every day. In fact, when I leave here, I'm finna go beg for some money, because I got good at it. I know who to talk with. It ain't no snake, because the snake might bite me. But it's very important. And to give you an idea how a relationship built, the young man to my far right Dave Atkins, was my teammate with the San Francisco 49ers in 1973. I hadn't seen Dave in about, 40 years? He just dropped off of the face of the earth. He found out I was in Houston, Texas. He decided to move to Houston. He ain't called none of his friends. He called Mike Holmes. That made me feel good. Now, as I mentioned, I'm the president of the Houston chapter. Who do you think is my vice president? To my right, Dave Atkins. But young lady, thank you for having us.
Thank
We
you
sure
for
appreciate
coming.
it.
I appreciate you for coming. All right, so we got a couple more questions. So as we think about influence and visibility, we must also consider responsibility. What ethical responsibilities do media professionals have when covering athletes, especially during moments of controversy and social advocacy?
Well, I can tell you my job, I do that every day. I got to get on the phone and call somebody. I don't care who it is, because I'm in a position to help and support. I'll make sure I get it done. Under my umbrella, since I'm the president, I have 400 members under my umbrella here in the city of Houston, nobody know nothing about. If they need some support within their life or benefits, my job is to go out there and find out how can I put them in the right position to where all the hard work they did on the field through their football career, there's some money out there that they can receive.
When you talk about sort of the responsibility of like dealing with athletes who go through, controversies and things of that nature. Yeah, so the way I try to approach most things is, as much as we can, keep it on the field, related to what they do on the field. I try really hard not to get into the personal lives. I mean, and if you talk long enough for enough years, you venture into that space, but you try not to make things personal because you don't know these guys. And I go sort of by, a rule that, what you say can have dire consequences. Like I try not to say anything on the air that I wouldn't say if that person was near. And so, that helps. And also having grace, like understanding as I've gotten older, realizing, okay, I made a lot of mistakes that didn't get covered. These are young men, and every day they're doing things that they've never done before. They're put, a spotlight is put on them continuously. They're gonna make mistakes. I didn't have camera crews discovering and revealing my mistakes. These guys have cameras on them 24 hours a day, and if they go to clubs, if they go to parties, they got cameras, people are recording them. That's a lot of pressure for a 22, 23, 24-year-old player. And knowing that you make millions of dollars, you probably come from a family that your first generation of money, and so you dealing with all of these different things. So I do try to handle things when it comes to like athletes with controversial situations with as much grace. Now you don't want to, lie, but you want to be as compassionate as you can while, telling the truth.
I came up in a different era when I started. It's different now. What I did then, I wouldn't do now. Not just because of the athlete, even for me. If you saw the movie 42 with Jackie Robinson, you saw a reporter with Jackie Robinson. I came up after Jackie Robinson and the Wendell Smith, the reporter, where the athlete, the black athlete, still had a relationship with the reporter who was black. And if you went out and you went to Sugar Ray Robinson's club, or you went up on OST to a club and you had fun with your friends, it stayed there. Just like they say, what happened in Vegas stays in Vegas, it stayed there. But you had to have the trust of the athlete. And I told think I told Nate this earlier today. They had Bobby Riggs and Billie Jean King here to play for a tennis match between a man and a woman, 73 in the Astrodome. So when the event is nearly over, I run into the other George Foreman, and he's with Jim Brown. And he said, hey, man, they're having a little get-together at the hotel across the street. You can come as my guest if you would like. And before he could get that out of his mouth, Jim Brown said, who is this? He probably, is he a reporter? And then George said, yeah. He said, we can't trust no reporter. And George said, he's my friend. Whatever happens at that party will be cool with him. And to make a long story short, it was also why I remember it so well was not just because of that and Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs, but it was the first time I had a chance to experience lamb chops. They had lamb chops at the party. I made a deal with the, got a go bag.
So we know the real story behind that story, lamb chops. What's it worth to you? What is the story worth to you? Is it worth it for me to climb on top of Ralph, beat him up, tell stories, tell lies, just to get the story? No, it's not. Your integrity, your honesty, your trust with your fellow colleagues, with the athletes, you got to build that. That takes time. We three, Terry, Kyle, make sure I don't miss anybody. We've been in locker rooms covering these athletes. We have been in the same scrums. What you were talking about earlier, the reporters around the particular, we've been in those same scrums, right? And there's going to be somebody who's going to ask a question that you're going to cringe. You're going to cringe. Like, you may not say, Mike, I am sure. George, Dave, I am sure. You guys in particular, there have been times when reporters have asked you questions and you wonder why. I'm sure, but you can't show it. You have to have what is called a poker face, which is what you guys learn from the teams because they teach all those things, and I'm sure your dad has told you many stories, George. But you have to ask yourself, if I break this story, because we are in the breaking story business, right? There's a guy who just retired from Fox 26 that did a whole lot of breaking stories. We call him Scoop. That's Mark Berman. I give him his props. I have broken stories also. All of us have broken stories, but the question is, what's it worth, right? If you talk to the person and you say, hey, I want to break this story now. Can I do it? You first have to get their permission. But if you don't get the permission, you guys know what I'm talking about? Terry? Kyle? Know what I'm talking about? If you don't get the permission, I am telling you right now, you're in trouble. If Mike had a relationship with a snake, and I knew about it, and I knew that Mike was scared of that snake, and he ran away from that snake, and the snake was only about 2 feet long and wasn't gonna bother him. It was a green snake. Mike might not want me to break that story, okay? George, if somebody not George out in practice and I saw it, he may not want me to tell that story, right? Dave makes a tackle in practice, hurts one of his teammates, right? But the coaching staff loved it. He may not want me to tell that story. I have to ask, can I tell that story? So it's about developing trust. It's about being the most honest person you are, especially when you work in a market like Houston, because there's so much competition, as you guys well know, in this city, and everybody is looking to break a story. Be very careful. Ask yourself, what's it worth?
Yeah, there's a dynamic, and I'm happy. Well, for a second, I definitely wasn't even a fraction of the football player. So I'm touching greatness when I say this, but I'm going to look at it from the perspective of athlete and media. And my dad was a pro athlete, so I definitely got to witness some of his decision making with the media, especially social media. And I always, he gave me this lesson as a kid. First, always dress to impress, because you never know who's watching. And you always want to look the part for the camera. He said, even the cop camera, when the cop gets you on their camera in front, he said, even be prepared for that camera, you know. Because even if you did it, but you got a tie on, you know. Did he do it? Yeah. So that's one thing that comes to mind, but that dynamic of athlete versus media and what they say about us, and we got to say something back. You got to remember that's two different industries, almost like two parts of a war. You know, they're fighting the war with their weapons, and you're fighting your war with your weapons. Focus on your war. Let them wage their war using their own weapons. You got to think about it like that. So when it does hit you, some shrapnel hits you, don't get distracted. Wage your war. No matter what they say, focus on the job. If the media says this receiver is going to do you like this, focus on the game plan. Don't get distracted. These are things that athletes think about. Don't get caught up. I remember Ralph Cooper saying, there's no way they're going to win in the playoffs. George Foreman's the only thing that got thing. I'm like, I guess it's play action week because they're going to be ready for me. And sure enough, it was play action. It was a play action. What was it? Play action draw? That's how we won the game. But he told them I was coming. They wouldn't know I was there in Huffman. Ralph told them. But, you know, this is me as a kid playing the game, dealing with that media dynamic and having to live it. So I'd say, and then the last thing that comes to mind is the cops tell you, you have the right to remain silent. That is the greatest tool in the whole warfare. Is like, I'm an American, I don't have to say anything. Oh, but they said this, they said that. Well, my dad would go fishing. He'd be like, watch this, Big Wheel. Cast your rod right there, and I'd catch a fish. I didn't even tell him what I was looking at on Twitter. Like, George, let's talk about fish. You have the right to remain silent, the greatest media weapon of all time.
Awesome. Yes.
I can answer that. That's easy. That's real easy. So what Devin said earlier is right. Ralph, Devin, sometimes it would be just us talking to specific athletes in the locker room. Period. Don't need the scrum. Don't need it. Because there are times when they will ask questions, and sometimes you get things you can't use in your sportscast. For instance, you have to be able to write to a soundbite sometimes, especially if you don't have what you need. And if you're in the scrum, you may not get an opportunity to ask that question because now they put time limits on you, right? There was a time, especially when the Houston Oilers were in town, we didn't have time limits. We could ask all the questions we wanted. Warren Moon would sit there in his locker. Remember that? Warren Moon would sit in his locker, and we just put the mics up to his mouth. And whatever we ask him, poker face, answer the question. It's not necessary to be in the scrum. What's most important is that you get the question answered that you need to get answered. If you're able to break a story based on what you saw on the field and they answer your question, great. But you don't have to be an audience to that scrum. It's very important that you are very aware of your time and aware of the time that they have to answer your question. So if you can get someone off to themselves until that scrum is done, then go over and talk to them, and hopefully you're not out of time. Easy.
See, like I said, the times have changed. The coaches are different. Yep. Players are different. it's a Houston Oilers practice one Friday afternoon, and the practice is over, and a coach comes up to you and say, look, we've got some kegs of beer coming in here and some pizza, and I would like for you to stay around if you want to and be part of that with my team, Bum Phillips. And being young and full of juice, I said, Coach, I don't eat pizza. And he fired back, though. He came right back and said, well, you don't want to cover my football team. I fired right back, I eat pizza. And if you understand what, so that's the way it was. I mean, it's a different time now. All of this is different. The University of Houston lost a game last week, and I knew before the game, when the game was over, that it was going to be a very emotional dressing room for a young basketball team. And you tried to warn some members of the media, these guys just lost a tough game. They're young. You have to kind of be patient with them. You can't go in and ask those tough, rough questions. You can if you want to, but if they go another way on you, that's your fault. And it helped some individuals who saw what I was talking about. It was very emotional, and hey, it's a learning experience.
Real quick, 30 seconds. So the other thing is that you have to be aware that oftentimes you talk about the podcasters, they're trying to get stuff on social media, but there are oftentimes when the teams won't let them answer certain things because the teams want that information to put on their social media. So you got to be really, really careful and try to get as much information as you can with the time that you're allotted.
All right, last and final question, briefly. What key skills and experiences should students develop to succeed in sports media journalism, PR, and or radio, TV, film? This is for the students that are still here. Everybody can answer this.
With me is to tell any student, always set yourself a goal. Whatever that goal is, don't let anything turn you against that goal. It's not going to be easy. It's something you have to work at hard on a daily basis. The more you work on your trade, the better you're going to be. That's why I'm so good at my trade. You say, look here, asking for money. You say.
My high school coaches taught me something, and it went with me all the way from Victoria High School all the way to the San Francisco 49ers, the New Orleans Saints. I was 27 years in the NFL playing and coaching. And my coach had taught me this, and it was something that it went with me wherever I went. Every game, every practice was good, better, best. Never let it rest until good is better and better is best. So that went with me. No one had to go and tell me, hey, come on, you got to go. I'm always going to give you my best. And it paid off for me.
One thing that comes to mind, learn to save. If I could tell any young student athlete, the resources, the reps, the hits, just save it. Just save it. Some of the contact I took on in practice, I learned early. I grew up in the time in football we had great MRIs and great headache specialists. And I had a couple of symptoms pop up, and my dad's attorney and my dad's doctor spoke with the headache specialist, and they explained to me, if you keep doing what you're doing the way you were doing it, because the way I played running back, I wanted to prove Ralph Cooper wrong. I was a knucklehead. They said, if you keep doing it the way you're doing, here's what's going to happen to you. So I decided to spare myself some of the damage, saved some of the resources. I was in a private school trying to play football. I saved some money, came to TSU, got my Texas Southern University education, which was really more valuable, actually. But I also learned the art of, a lot of my peers worked full time, and we were really pushing our finances. If I just could go back to my college days and talk to myself, I'd say, learn to save. I saved myself on the field, that's for sure. I had a lot of kids, that didn't save me a lot of money. Thanks to Texas Southern, I got some TSU babies. Thank you TSU for that. But I learned to save, and the saving money and learning the art of true wealth is not what you spend and what you have, it's what you save. That's your wealth. Yeah.
So what I would say to any student that wants to be in media or make it in anything, you have to live it, right? You know, people come to me and ask for opportunities, and my first question is, what have you done already? So I would tell everybody, do what you can do before a gatekeeper gives you permission. Like before you ask for opportunity, make sure you're doing everything that you can do. And if you want to be in media, you have to live it. Know who other prominent media members are. Understand the backstory. How did they get to where they got? What did they do to become successful? You have to live that every day. And the final thing I'll say is like, this will translate in any walk of life. If you say you're gonna do it, do it. If you know, it's fundamental, it's not exciting, it's not groundbreaking, but if you say I'm gonna be here 4 o'clock, be there 4 o'clock. And keep showing up. Keep showing up.
And I agree. One of the things I tell youngsters all the time is to keep the spirit. You got to have the energy. You need to be, or try to be, inspired. This is inspiring to me today. I may be the oldest individual in this room, but I feel like I'm the youngest and the most fortunate person in the room. You're looking at an individual who never thought he would be 40, and now he's hit 77. He can still go walking and running, and I still look at women. I still have a bad habit of looking at women. But I just this is not blue ice, all right. But I just want to try to have goals, and you want to be around people that that can lead you to outwork them. See, I'm around people now, Terrence, Kyle, Nate, Devin. I don't think, Richard, I don't think they can outwork me. I really don't. At 77, I can't imagine them being in the game with me when I was 20-something. Am I right? Mike knows better than anybody in this room. So you want to be around people that are going to inspire you. You want to be around people that are going to look out for you. What his father did for me, what Ali and Joe Frazier and others, Evander Holyfield did for me, I can never repay. That's why I have a youth program. I've had over 10,000 people to go through it, kids between the ages of about 8 to 18 years old since 1983. What his father, see, imagine you're 20-something years old. You've never been to Vegas. You get a call one day. It's the middle of the summer. And he asks, what are you doing? And you say, oh, nothing. He says, it's a slow period. He said, yeah. You want to come to Vegas? You ever been to Vegas? He said, no. Call the travel agency, or the lady's going to call you from the travel agency. The next day you are at the Caesar's Palace. See, this is what friendship, the youngsters have. You got all these great athletes here at Texas Southern. Form a relationship with them, the coaches even. Although they may be hard to deal with, still try it. Going back to that story, I go to Caesar's Palace and check in, and I see George. And he says one thing. He said, you can have anything you want here. I say, anything I want? He said, anything but alcohol. And you know how he was. Any lobster? I say, lobster, yep, steaks, anything you want. So, again, we go back to the friendship thing. And what you did today, I think you should do it again. Invite us back where all these students are in here. They need to know these stories because you haven't really gotten the crust, the thrust of our stories. There's some stories here. You're traveling 30,000 feet up with a Texas Southern football team with Wendell Mosley and Dr. Rod Page on the team. You're 30,000 feet up over the Gulf of Mexico, and you think the world is about to come to an end. Lightning on both sides of the airplane, all the way from Miami back to Houston with the Texas Southern football team. You see the great Dr. Page and Wendell Mosley strapped down. You know it's a rough ride. Anyway, invite us back, okay?
So I got a rebuttal to that. I don't think we can outwork you. My day starts at 4 a.m. It doesn't end until midnight. All right. So I got to get some sleep sometime, just like we all do. So I don't know about that, Ralph. But anyway, here's what I do know. For you who want to work in show of hands television, how many want to be on air? How many want to work in radio? How many want to work in radio? 1. Is that what I see? 1? 2? Here is my suggestion to you.
if you want to get in this business. Start in radio because you need to learn how to talk. Don't start in television. You can learn about TV, but start in radio. It took me 5 years. I was in radio for 5 years before I even thought about doing television. I thought about it in year 4. I said, okay, I may be able to do this. That's what I said. I may be able to do TV. So I started thinking about it. All of a sudden, somebody comes to me and says, hey, you want to do some TV? I said, yeah. It's 5 years, right? My 5th year, I got a job in Beaumont. You're going to work in some markets that you're not going to like, but it will pay off. But you first need to learn how to talk. Then you got to learn how to write. You know, maybe you'll be a Kyle Mosley or a Terry Harris, all right? But you got to learn how to write. You got to learn how to talk. When you learn how to do those 2 things, then all it is presentation. Because I'm going to be on Devin's show in about 2 weeks. Did you know that? Yeah, you didn't know that. I'll be on Devin's show. We got to raise some money. I'll be on Devin's show in 2 weeks, right? And the last time we did, we raised how much? $5,500?
$6,000
in an hour and a half. We raised $6,000 an hour because we could talk. So you got to first learn how to talk, learn how to write, and learn how to do it without needing a prompter or needing a phone or anything else. Because sometimes, that's right, sometimes the guests don't show up on Zoom. They are absent. Sometimes the prompter goes down. What you gonna do then, right? So you gotta, that's right. So you gotta know, like Ralph knows. Ralph said that he didn't cover Moses. I think he covered Moses. He knows about every. you know I love you, man. You know I love you. He knows it. Ralph, I love everything about him. He knows it. Ralph is my mentor as well. Find you some mentors. Learn this business. These guys, these athletes, like Ralph said, go out to interview the athletes. On your campus. They would love to do that. Especially you young ladies. They want to get to know y'all more than you know. So get to know them, okay? And use that to your advantage, but learn how to talk and enunciate, and you will be great.
Right quick, I don't know how many of you watch, young ladies especially, black young ladies especially, should watch CNN every night. During the week, Monday through Friday, you've got Laura Coates and you got Abby Phillips, 2 young black women who are hosting national programs every night. And just watching them, you could learn a lot. If a 77-year-old guy can watch them and learn from them every night, and you're trying to get in the business of being a reporter, you need to watch Abby Phillips again and Laura Coates on CNN. And they didn't start off with those talk shows. They worked themselves into those talk shows. They were working for Don Lemon, if I'm correct. And now they have their own talk shows every night, Monday through Friday. And they look just like you all. No tattoos. Different hairstyles, no tattoos. And like I tell my daughter, no rings in the nose. Do that after you get established.
Real quick, there is Fox 26. Just saying. You guys can watch Fox 26 in the morning. You got Sally and Lena. You got Melissa. You got Denise. Denise went to Madison High School. Madison High School, okay? Attended University of Houston. I'm telling you, stay local. You can do local big, but understand where you are in the moment. Watch local news, okay? It's important.
So we have time for like one or 2 questions. Yes.
And again, right quick, like I said, that the friendship thing, you want to get to know the people that you're interviewing. I've been blessed. I was getting ready to buy a house. Cooper, they're giving away property. Giving away property, Cooper. I said, where? Pearland, giving away property. So 2 or 3 nights passed by, I see him again in the locker room. Cooper, you go out there? I say, yeah, I went out there. He say, you gonna buy? You gonna buy? You don't have no down payment? You don't have no, I help you. I get you a down payment. I got your down payment. So see, what I'm saying is you never know who you're interviewing and how they may help you in the end and how your interview is important to them. You know what I'm saying? And so, again, try to establish you some relationships where you don't have to be like Devin Wade and have your daddy to call me and tell me to babysit you while you're out in Las Vegas. Look how big he is.
All right.
I just want to link it to sports really quick, the last thing.
Oh, okay.
Because they're touching on something that we know on the field and in sports is it's a team thing. And you'll never produce anything great. Every great TV show, I don't care if everybody knows how to do everything like the legends here. You got another person for audio, another person for close-up cam, another person for drone, you got another person for post-editorial it's a team thing. And I think the professors have done a great job. I see my professors in the back, Randall. But they do a great job of saying no student is gonna fall behind. If they do, they gotta take a little shame. And maybe this student's not a good editor, but I'm gonna help them get through this class because they know how to do whatever. You gotta build a team, and to you in production, fill your roster. Fill your roster. This person's always late. Well, what about your 4 p.m., your 9 p.m.? It's like they're never gonna be here at 4 a.m., but they're gonna show up late and they're gonna have to stay late. So get them on there too. Oh, this person's not good at telemarketing. Bring that person too. You'll never know. Pack your roster, pack your team, because that's what NBC is doing. That's what ESPN is doing. You got a whole bunch of people around. You think they're doing nothing? One guy's just checking the cables. Another guy's just up in the lights. Pack your roster. Save as many people as you can, so that way they can save. And before you know it, you have a 401k to partner with. Yeah. Save them all.
All right, give everybody a round of applause. Do you want to say something?
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I know it's getting late, but today is our last major day. My name is Dr. Anthony Ogbo. I'm the conference chair. And listen, I'm so excited to have these big shots, hanging out with us this evening. I know we met at the opening reception, and we'll also invite you all, if you can, to our closing banquet, which is going to be tomorrow, 6 to 8. After this event, we will follow up with the invitation to actually give you the actual location. But we appreciate you all coming to talk to our students. This is an annual event, so next year we also are going to be checking up, to ask, respectfully, ask you to be here again. So thank you so much. Please, one more round of applause for our good guests. Our last event is going to be our power panel from our graduate school, and they're already here. So I'm going to call you. Come on, Professor Kingsley. You're going to take over, but while we arrange and kind of get them all together.
Guys, if you can just hang out, we have another event going on. And if you're part of the panel, please get with the back for your PowerPoints.